This is a dream destination in Europe for a lot of Americans, and there are direct flights from the US. It has beautiful scenery, incredible history, and oh, so much romance. Que romantico, Amelia.
So today we're going to walk you through the pros and cons of this ancient city and let you know if we think it is a good place to visit or live.
But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button if you're thinking about moving abroad or slow traveling, because it might be easier than you think, and we can help you do it.
We're talking about Palermo, Sicily. If your dream is to move to Italy, then make sure you stick around into the end because we spoke with an immigration attorney and we learned some really important things about the visas that you need to know.
All right, let's start by talking about the things we loved about Palermo. And the first one is that it is incredibly beautiful.
It was so gorgeous. The countryside is just amazing. It is like something out of a storybook with those green rolling hills and the mountains, and then you've got the sea. It was beautiful.
And I really liked all the Roman ruins, the architecture, the cathedrals, there's statues everywhere. That's just not something we have a lot of in the US. There might be one statue in the middle of the park, but there's not 10 statues on the front of the city hall.
I know, and I like all the little squares that you can find and the little parks nestled in everywhere. It was just amazing.
We took a really nice long walk in front of the sea on the seafront around the marina area, and it was really nice. It was pretty windy that day.
It was very windy.
And there are lots of parks in the city. Some of them are really nice and well maintained, others not so well maintained. They're kind of overgrown, lots of trash, dead weeds and flowers. It was a bit disappointing, especially the botanical garden. It really has not been kept up.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised like that. So I guess it's more like a nature walk
Yeah,
than a
it is.
groomed park.
Yeah, it's like what nature does after humans stop interacting with it.
Exactly. We had great weather. The weather was absolutely perfect when we were there, despite a little bit of wind and a little bit of rain. The temperatures were ideal. They were in the 70s and it got a little bit cool at night, so you would still need a jacket.
I know, and the blue skies were just incredible, especially all of the old buildings and the architecture with that blue sky backdrop. It was amazing for photography, and everybody was there taking pictures, of course.
One thing we love about slow travel is that we were able to stay for a month in Palermo, and we were really lucky because we were there for half of April and a little bit of May, and overall it just was not that crowded.
Yeah, it didn't really get crowded until May Day, which is May 1st or Labor Day in Europe. And that day we were like, it must be a holiday here. We didn't even know what day it was until we went out, and it was just packed with people. There were multiple cruise ships in the harbor, and it was just overwhelming. And we're like, well, I guess our Tranquillo Palermo visit is over. And it was pretty busy after that. Another reason why a lot of people were there was the Targa Florio, which is the world's oldest endurance car race. It started while we were there, and I got some really cool shots of those old cars.
In the summer, it does get really hot. It can get over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but they do have nice mild winters.
Yeah, the winters are not too bad there.
Not for Europe anyway.
Yeah. All right, next up is that it is easy to get around and to walk most places. The sidewalks were pretty flat and walkable. It's not a hilly city at all. It is outside the city, but not in it. Drivers stop for pedestrians, which we thought was really nice. We're just actually not used to that. In most of the countries we go to, it's kind of take your life in your own hands when you step off the curb, but there everybody just stopped even if they didn't really have to.
You can also rent those Lime scooters. They're really popular. We saw people riding those all over the place. And of course, the little Vespas, which is still my dream.
I don't
One
know.
day.
I don't know about that, Amelia. They do have a bus system, a tram, but it runs kind of on the southern side of the city, and it wasn't exactly that convenient for us. It was a 22-minute walk just to get to the closest stop near where we were staying. So we actually never took it because it didn't go anywhere we wanted to.
Nope, and we were able to walk, so it was a win-win. There are 3 airports in Sicily. We flew into Trapani because there was a direct flight from Malta, but we actually left Palermo in the Palermo airport, and that was a really easy airport to navigate. Actually, they both were. The Trapani airport was teeny tiny.
Yeah, they were both very small. And the train does go out to the airport from Palermo City, so you can't take that, and it's really affordable.
We stayed in 2 different areas in Palermo. The first place was just outside of the tourist area, and I liked it a lot. It was more of a locals neighborhood. It was super convenient, and everybody there was very friendly and welcoming.
So the second place we stayed was in the historic center, and Like most of them, it was loud at night. People were partying. We could hear the Spaniards out in the street playing soccer or football or whatever in the middle of the night. And they were so loud. And I thought, they're having these protests now for the tour over tourism. And I thought, you think if anybody would appreciate being quiet in the middle of the night, it'd be the Spaniards, because they're having a whole bunch of problems in Spain with rowdy tourists. And anyway, so the place we stayed there was amazing. We had this awesome balcony with the view of Teatro Massimo. It was absolutely beautiful. And our host was so nice. Best host we've ever had at a place ever. She was just so nice. She met us. She gave us food and wine, and she was awesome.
Yeah, she was extremely attentive, making sure we had everything we needed. The whole experience was great. Everybody was super friendly. We got to know the people at the grocery stores and local markets, and they would recognize us after we went a couple times and welcome us back. We got to know some of the neighbors in the first building we stayed in. And the restaurant people were fabulous. I just got to give it a big thumbs up for people.
And when we were leaving, one of the guys at the building where we stayed first, he invited us to come stay at his place next time we're in Palermo. So yeah, that's how nice people were.
Palermo was very dog friendly. I think this could be the most dog friendly place we have ever visited. I know some of you out there are really curious about that. We saw dogs all over the place on their little leashes. They were super cute. But my favorite part was going to a regular grocery store and seeing the special shopping carts with this compartment for your dog. So you could put your dog in the cart and go all the way through the store and put your groceries in there. And I loved it.
I know that dog, we saw this Shiba Inu, and it was so happy to be shopping with Mom.
I know.
We even saw a dog with a wheelchair.
We did.
And he was, I think he belonged to someone in our building. He was always out front, and he was so sweet too.
We felt safe walking around Palermo for the most part. There were a couple areas that were kind of sketchy and a little bit extra gritty, like around the train station and some of the areas outside of the tourist center where there appeared to be some people, I don't know, hanging out drinking and stuff. I guess you see that in every city. And we walked through some neighborhoods that looked a little bit rough when we were walking over to the public hospital to take care of a problem that I encountered that we'll tell you about later in the video.
Yeah, we didn't actually go out very much at night. I'm not sure we have any night footage because it didn't get dark till almost 9 o'clock, and that's kind of our bedtime.
It's our bedtime.
So Amelia kept saying, we have to go out and get some night footage. And then when 9 o'clock would hit, we were like, too tired to go out now.
Like we could just look out the window.
Speaking of safety, we always think about that while we're traveling and protecting our privacy while we're online. And that's why we're really happy to talk about Incogni, today's sponsor.
Even though we're traveling around the world, we still deal with the same issues. We get constant text messages and email spam, and it is nonstop. Your info is bought and sold by data brokers who sell your information to businesses and marketers, and this opens you up to all sorts of yucky spam.
Plus, thanks to these brokers and data breaches, your personal information like your name, address, email, social security number, and a bunch of other stuff is all out there and potentially in the hands of bad people, and that can open you up to identity theft and other types of crimes.
Have you ever tried searching your name and address? You're going to be shocked to find out that your name and your personal information is on a whole bunch of lists and sites out there. It is overwhelming. You can try to remove your data yourself, but it is time consuming and it is just a lot of work.
Thankfully, we now have Incogni. You just create your account, grant them the right to work with you, then you can relax and watch them do their thing. They go to work by contacting these data brokers on your behalf and demanding that you're taken off of these lists.
Incogni now has custom removals in their unlimited plan that really helps you maximize your online privacy. All you have to do is send them the link to the website where your data is being exposed, and their privacy experts will handle the rest.
They keep working until all your personal information is off these lists and websites, and they do this continually because it's basically like whack-a-mole now with these brokers and breaches.
We feel so much better knowing that they're helping to protect our privacy. Incogni is available risk-free for 30 days, so if you're not happy, you can get a full refund.
Take your personal data back with Incogni. Use promo code Amelia and JP at the link below to get 60% off an annual plan.
And now back to Palermo. They have good healthcare. They have a public and a private system, and I learned about the public system because I broke my tooth and I had to get it checked. I tried to get an appointment with a private dentist, but I couldn't find anybody that that could fit me in before we were leaving. But luckily, they have good public health care that is accessible to everyone.
Yeah, we actually found a dental clinic on Google that was supposed to be open, and we walked all the way over there. And just like Latin America, it was closed. It was completely under construction. The building was not even open for business. According to Google, they were open. So luckily, it was only a couple of blocks away from the public hospital. And somebody told us we should just go check the emergency room there to have them look at her broken tooth. And so we did that. And later, I looked up, and this hospital was built in 1429 by a Benedictine friar.
Yeah, it's amazing the history here. Although it was a modernized hospital, I felt very good. It was a fun experience. I mean, who would have thought I'd be saying, oh, I broke my tooth, and it was fun. But what made it fun was everybody was very helpful and patient with the fact that I only know a few words of Italian. They only knew a few words of English, so we were using a lot of Google Translate on the phone. First, I had to go to the ER, and then I got the paperwork and went to see the emergency dentist there. She did not speak any English. Her assistant spoke a couple words. So between all four of us, we were able to figure out exactly what I needed to do. And we were all just laughing and having an incredible cultural experience.
It was actually a lot of fun.
It was fun.
And we were using a Google Translate a lot, but the doctor's accent was so thick, her Sicilian accent, that Google Translate just could not make sense of it at all with the audio version of it. It was just mumble. It was like real words that didn't make any sense.
Exactly.
And so we went back to her desk and she typed it all in on her keyboard and turned the monitor around. We're like, oh, okay. So we figured out what we needed to do.
Yeah, and there was zero charge for that. No cost at all. She did prescribe me antibiotics, which I did have to go and pay for, and they were like $10.
Yeah.
It was very affordable.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to write about Amelia's crown experience where we are now. We are not in Palermo at the moment. So if you want to subscribe to our newsletter, you can do that. I'll put a link below.
We really enjoyed the affordability of the food and wine after being in Southeast Asia where alcohol is more expensive. Cheap bottles of wine can be had everywhere. You can get a really nice bottle of wine or Prosecco for €7. Eating out in the restaurants was very affordable as well. We probably ate out a little bit too much.
Yeah, a delicious Sicilian food. I mean,
so good.
They cook a lot with pistachios. I did not know that. That was central to the Sicilian cuisine. And they're so good. And that's actually what broke Amelia's tooth. She was eating a pistachio.
Not at a restaurant, though. I'm not blaming any restaurant for that. That was all me.
Yeah.
But we also had a lot of pizza and some street food. I mean, we ate way too much because it was just so good and really flavorful. There wasn't a lot of other cuisines. I didn't see a Chinese restaurant in the area we were in, which is a little bit surprising. There wasn't as much variety, but you're in Italy, so you got to eat the local food.
Yeah, not a lot of international cuisine. So we just leaned into the Italian food and we ate it nonstop. And now we have to go on a diet.
Yes, we do. But we also went to the grocery store, not just to see the cute dogs at Familia, but also to buy the groceries. And we found them to be very affordable as well. A bag of groceries cost us around $10. And that's been pretty typical throughout our travels, really everywhere we've been, except maybe London and Singapore.
Yeah, London,
was more
it was
expensive.
more. For comparison, we used to spend about $30 for the same bag of food in the United States when we lived there back in 2017. And it's even more expensive now. So that's kind of how we gauge it everywhere we go. It's like, okay, we're leaving with 4 bags of food and it was $40. So $10 a bag. In the U.S., we would leave with 3 bags and it was $90 every time. It was so consistent.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some grocery culture shock when we get
go
back.
Yeah. Another great thing is the water. You can drink it and it tastes fantastic after Malta, where it tastes kind of soapy because it's desalinated. Palermo, it's very mineral tasty. In fact, when you boil it for coffee, you got that nice little mineral deposit in the bottom. It's just like smooth drinking water. It tastes really good.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of our Cuenca water in Athens, which actually has spectacular drinking water as well. The internet was also really fast and stable, which is extremely important to us.
Yeah, we had 700 meg in our second place. I think 630 meg in our first place. It's about the fastest that I think we've had anywhere. And now for the cons and the things we did not like very much. And the first one is there's trash all over the place. The most litter, I think, that we have seen anywhere in all of our travels, except for maybe Da Nang, Vietnam. It's pretty bad there too, but we're just really kind of disappointed. They've got this beautiful historic city with this amazing architecture, and then there's trash in front of it.
Yeah, and there were cigarette butts all over the place. It's just it was just disappointing.
Yeah, we saw a lot of smokers there, which is not unexpected for Southern Europe, but I guess that's why there's so many cigarette butts everywhere. They just all throw them down when they're done. I don't get that.
It definitely gets too hot in the summertime for a lot of people. I think that people have actually started coming earlier, which is why it got so crowded in May, and rightfully so, because you're going to be pretty uncomfortable. And also, with those cruise ships coming in, sometimes there's 3 of them at a time. That is a lot of people. Over tourism is an issue in the historic center and other parts of Sicily, and they're even planning a protest about that subject. And you know what? I don't blame them. I'm not surprised that they're dealing with over tourism. I'm surprised at how welcoming they were despite the over tourism.
Yeah, because we have experienced tourist fatigue in some other areas like Seville and Malaga, but we didn't experience it, which was surprising given how many tourists were there.
Yes.
Another thing, I guess it's not a con, but it's an adjustment, is that the stores close between 1 and 4 and the restaurants close between 3 and 7 p.m. And invariably we get in from our travel day at like 2:45, and by the time we leave our place to go get food, everything is closed. It's so frustrating. And we have to eat later than we like to. We like to eat around 6 or 7 usually, and most places don't even open until 7 or 8. So it's a bit of an adjustment.
Although those places were open in the tourist center and the historic areas and the tourist areas, you're usually going to find places that are open. The downside with that is, though, that's where everybody is, so they're more crowded. We're also surprised about the amount of homelessness. We weren't expecting to see quite so many people living on the street, which was really sad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And that's probably the worst that we've seen throughout our travels so far. One of the things I really did not like is Uber. It is so expensive there. After we went to the hospital, it's kind of drizzling and we would have normally walked back. It was only 1.8 miles and we called an Uber. It took her 15 minutes to get there, another 15 minutes to drive us back. And it was $28 to go 1.8 miles from our starting spot. We took an Uber to go from our first location, our first lodging, to our second lodging. It was $25 to do that. And we could have walked it in less than 15 minutes, but if we hadn't had our luggage, we would have.
Yeah, the prices were pretty shocking. And I don't like that they give you a window, like they give you a range of how much the price could be. And it always ended up coming in over that amount. I mean, it's nice that Uber is available, but just be aware you're going to be paying more. Now, let me tell you about the conversation we had with the immigration attorney while we were in Palermo. It was quite eye-opening. We were talking to her about the elective residency visa. That's the passive income visa. On paper, it says you need to show at least 31,000 euros per year in income and additional 20% for your spouse. But what she told us is that realistically, you need 2 to 3 times that amount, and that this is a very challenging visa to get.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. You actually have to apply for that in your home country, so at a consulate or embassy in the U.S., and you have to choose the region or the city where you plan on moving to because each one has different rules and regulations and income requirements. The amount that you're given really varies based on who you talk to at the government. The bureaucrat that is working on your paperwork decides how much you have to earn to get qualified for that visa. It's really frustrating.
It is frustrating. She said it can be very challenging. There's a lot of bureaucracy, which is not a big surprise to anybody out there, but she said it could take up to a year to get your visa. The other downside is that if you do not already own a residential property where you can go and live in Italy, then you have to rent a place. You have to sign a year lease, and you have to do that and have it proven that you've rented this place before you can even apply for the visa. And if you don't get your visa, well, you're just SOL.
Yeah, we asked the immigration attorney, and what happened? She said, well, if you break the lease, you're going to be responsible for paying any of the fines related to that. And it just is so backward to me. Why force people to rent a place for a year before you can even apply for the visa?
The bottom line is they want to make sure you are very serious about moving to Italy. You are going to have to become a tax resident. This is not a place where you can go and just say, oh, I'm just going to get another residency so I could spend a few months a year here. That is not going to fly with this visa.
Yeah, she told us that most people already have a home there. They've been spending 3 or 6 months a year there on the Schengen visa, and then they've decided that they want to live there permanently, so they apply for that visa. They're the the most likely to get the visa. If you're just like having a dream of moving to Italy, it's not likely to get this specific visa.
Yes, they take their visa residency very seriously, and they want you to be truly committed to really embracing life in Italy. That's not really that
Unreasonable.
unreasonable.
No, it's not.
She did say if you wanted to do the investor visa, if you're a high net worth person and you can invest quite a bit of money, that is a much faster route, and you can get that in a couple months.
Yeah, hundreds of thousands of euros for that, though.
And you cannot buy property for that.
And what about digital nomad?
The digital nomad visa, that one it's got its own rules and regulations, and it also is challenging to get.
Yeah, you can download our Move Abroad Toolkit. We cover some of this in there, and you can do that by scanning this QR code or going to ameliaandjp.com/toolkit. All right, Amelia, so what do you think? Is Palermo, your city, did it meet your expectations?
Okay, it did meet my expectations. I have dreamed of going to Palermo ever since I was a little kid and seeing it on TV. I loved it despite its flaws. I absolutely loved it. I mean, the weather was amazing, the food, the people, the architecture. I loved it. However, I loved it for a place to slow travel. I would not want to live there year round.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was underwhelmed, a bit disappointed. Maybe I had it built up too much in my head from all of the movies and everything over the years, but I just didn't like it that much, and I was kind of ready to leave, and that is not common for me, except Athens. I didn't feel culture shock there. I just didn't really like that it was kind of trashy, and it was a little too gritty for me. I guess I'm kind of spoiled after being in Southeast Asia and some of these fancy cities like Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. It was a little too much for me.
Well, and Malta, Malta was so beautiful and clean. I definitely prefer Malta over Sicily.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what do you guys think? Have you been to Sicily or Palermo? Let us know in the comments. And remember to download the Move Abroad Toolkit by clicking this link right here.
If you found this video helpful, then check out this one next.
All right, guys, that's all we have for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time. Ciao.
Ciao.